and we are here on Bridges of Light, this wonderful group. And good morning everybody. First of all, I would like to introduce myself, of course, because this is my first talk in English for this group, for this wonderful group. And I'm very, very honored to be part of this group, Bridges of Light. And so I thank Gaetano Vivo and Silvia for this opportunity to give a speech in the English language for the English-speaking people of this group. This is a group that has been growing a lot, especially in the last 2 months, and we're very happy about it. And it has been growing also because, of course, we have this lockdown and people have more opportunities to get in touch with these conferences and talks. So I see that there are some people watching, so I say hello to everybody coming to this new talk. It will be in English, and anyway there is also Enrico helping me. And so if there are any problems, because if there are some Italians who speak English and are following this talk and there is something which is not clear, you can of course write down. So again, hello everybody. I want to introduce myself first of all. My name is Arianna Mendo. I am Italian and originally I come from Torino, so from the north of Italy. And today we are going to talk about places of energy, special places, and actually Torino is well known according to the esoteric tradition as being a magical city, a city with very, very powerful energies. So as nothing comes by chance, I think it was not by chance that I was born in Torino. And I have always been interested in the field of the esoteric, the development, the personal development, subtle energies, meditation. And at a point, there was a very big change in my life that occurred in 1999, exactly. When I decided to move from Torino to the beautiful island of Sardinia. Sardinia is an island in the center of the Mediterranean Sea, in between Italy and Spain. And it's really a very beautiful place. It is very well known for its beautiful sea, crystal clear, but it's also a mountainous island and an island with a very rich megalithic culture. And here I would like to underline that one of my interests has always been the ancient cultures. In fact, for this reason, at a point in my life when I had to decide the school I was going to follow, I decided to study classical school, and so I did Greek and Latin because I've always been interested in ancient cultures. And this led me at a point to be really involved with megalithic cultures. And going to Sardinia on holiday, I discovered that in Sardinia there used to be an amazing megalithic culture. And so in 1999, I moved from Torino to Sardinia in order to start a very special research. At that point, I was already very much involved in the studies of subtle energies, astrology, because I am an astrologer, and I was also very much interested in archaeoastronomy. Archaeoastronomy is that kind of research that tries to observe the sky of the ancient people, the ancient civilizations, and see what kind of link there was between the monument that ancient civilizations built and some alignments of the stars or the sun or the moon. And when I moved to Sardinia, I joined a group of people, a group of researchers. It was actually quite a small group that were interested in getting to know better the alignments of the monuments of Sardinia, and also the energies of the earth of that ancient civilization. Because actually there were Greek reports telling that the ancient people of Sardinia had a very strong link with the energies of Mother Earth and the sky, and that they used some of these energies in order to get healings. Okay, so today actually I'm going to take you to a journey throughout some places and the origin of my studies and the discoveries that I have made over the years. Some years ago, in this respect, I wrote a book about this. It's a book about the sacred places of energy between sky and earth, and this book is going to be translated into English, and so very soon it will be possible to read this book in English as well. So I see that there are some people watching. They are actually all Italian, as I see, so I hope you anyway understand English, because we know that probably English speaking people will join this talk later on, because of course there is always a difference of time, so maybe to them it is not that easy to listen to this talk right now, but probably later on. And so I will have to go on in English, so I hope you understand. Roberta is writing in English. Hello Roberta. And Paola is also writing in English. Hello Arianna Enrico. So I hope you understand my English. I'm talking slowly and I'm very happy you are all here. So if you just maybe write to me if you understand what I'm saying, I will be very glad about that. Right, okay. So let's see if any one of you will write back with some comments. Okay, right, so let's start this journey then, after this introduction. And so first of all, I want to underline that everything is energy and everything vibrates. And we live actually in a dimension of energy. Imagine that actually we live in an ocean of energy, okay? And this energy we live in, it's in a constant movement. It moves all the time. And so imagine this movement all around us, okay? And as human beings, we are actually subject and affected by this energy because we are constantly in connection with the energies around us, okay? Marilena is writing, hello, sure, very understandable, very good. So it's also good exercise for you who speak English, okay? By the way, I used to be a teacher of English, so, all right. I was, so underline that we are in a constant contact with the energies around us, and as human beings we were actually created to be in connections with two main energies. One is the energy of Mother Earth, because we were created with feet that are actually walking on the ground, walking on Mother Earth. So we are really actually rooted in Mother Earth. And then the other part, our head, is actually pointing upwards towards the sky. So we are in a constant contact between these two dimensions, okay? And as you surely know, we have a subtle body, our aura, our chakras, and our chakras are actually aligned along the spine. And again, we see that our chakras are actually in connection with these two dimensions, because the lower chakra, the first chakra, the lowest chakra, is actually pointing downwards towards Mother Earth. So actually absorbing the energy from Mother Earth, while the seventh chakra is actually pointing upwards, and so therefore getting the energy from above. And then these two energies from above and from the lowest and from below flow along our spine. So we can see that also our energy subtle body was actually created so that the human being could actually live and experience things in between these two dimensions. This is a very important thing to underline. Okay, Katia, hello for thank you for being here. So you are answering English, so I suppose you understand English. And I say big hello to Christina. I'm very happy you're here to listen to me, right? So this is a very important fact, and as I have already underlined in my talks here on Bridges of Light, the ancients knew this reality very, very well. Why? Because in ancient days, people were very much in tune with nature, and they used their psychic powers a lot. They were very much aware of human beings' psychic powers. So if we think about human beings in ancient days, they were much more psychic than we are today. I often say that human beings today are more technological, and we are very much separated from nature because we don't live so much in nature anymore, unfortunately. We live in big cities, and so we are so much separated from nature, but it was not like this in ancient days. And so people had such a deep contact with nature, and they constantly looked for this contact, both with Mother Earth, which was seen as a living being, what the Greeks called Gaia, Mother Earth, and they were in constant contact with the sky, and they could perceive the energies, the cosmic energies coming from above. Of course, in ancient days, people were also very much aware that there were other dimensions filled with human beings. one of a Greek philosopher, Heraclitus, used to say that the world was filled with deities, and this means that it was filled with spirits, you know, with presences, and those presences were both around us in nature. Let's think about forest, you know, filled with these spirits, you know, that live in the forests, and they could, as I was saying, perceive Mother Earth as a living being, and they were very much aware that there were beings living in other dimensions. And during their rituals that allowed these ancient people to go in dimension of expansion of consciousness, they could actually meet all these beings living both on this planet around us, but also above us. Okay, so for this reason, at a point when some civilizations started to develop, and so develop the art of astrology, the art of architecture, and these civilizations started to build monuments that wanted to express this knowledge. And so these monuments were actually built in between sky and earth, being in this respect very much aware of this experience. Hello, Mary. Hello. I'm very happy to see you here. Good morning, and the same, Caterina. Good morning, and I'm very happy you're here. So I want to show you now some pictures. So let's have a look at the first one. Right, here I want to show you, and here we're going to Egypt, one of the most fascinating ancient cultures, and a very knowledgeable culture. And in this picture, you can see the representation of a very ancient goddess, the goddess Seshat. We have to say that for the Egyptians, in their vision, spiritual vision, they believed that they originated from gods and goddesses, okay? And so they had a divine origin. And they expressed this divine origin through extraordinary myths and through different gods and goddesses. We have to say that their vision of the spiritual dimension is filled with many, many gods and goddesses, and they are actually the manifestation of one supreme God, who was Amun, all right? So they actually believed that there was a supreme creator of the world, and that then this energy manifested through different manifestations, different archetypes, okay? And these archetypes were symbolized in gods and in all the gods and goddesses that we see in the Egyptian pantheon. Gods and goddesses, and this is important to underline, because all the ancient cultures were very much aware that in nature the energy, the supreme energy manifests first of all in two energies, the male energy and the feminine energy. So both were very, very important. And this is the reason why in the ancient civilization of Egypt, we also find women who became pharaohs, okay? Not only men, but also women, because the role of women in many of the ancient cultures was as important as the role of men. And I have to say, in some ancient traditions, probably the role of women was even more important, because women give birth, and so for this reason they were considered really the symbol of of birth, and so such an important symbol. Okay, I'm also saying hello to Sylvia. Sylvia is also watching. Hi, I'm very happy to see you here. Really very glad about this. So Seshat, as I was saying, was a very ancient, is a very ancient goddess of Egypt, and it is actually carved in many temples. And if you look at her, you see that she's wearing a very special dress, and this was made with animal skin, the skin of a leopard. And then we have you see that she's holding some rods, and these rods were actually used in ancient Egypt to move energy, to work with energy, okay? All the priests and priestesses of ancient Egypt worked a lot with rods, special rods, to purify the energy, and like wands, you know. So if you want, the magical wand of many fairy tales comes from a very, very old use of wands to purify the energy, to enhance and raise the personal energy, because the energy needs to be constantly cleaned. And with this rod, with this wand, this goddess had also another task, the task to count the years that a pharaoh was going to reign over Egypt. So she was also an astrologer, of course. And then you see that she has a very, very special thing, just you know, above on her head, you see, very special pointed thing, you know, because in ancient days, all the gods and goddesses, and of course this was true of priests and priestesses, had to wear special hats, you know, special hats. And this is like a pointed star, and it has 7 parts, you see, like 7 petals, and probably it is connected with the constellation of the Big Dipper, Orsa Maggiore in Italian, the Big Dipper, and it points upwards, yes, because of course she's a goddess and she's in a constant contact, she lives actually in the upper world. Why the Big Dipper? Because the Big Dipper is one of those constellations that we can see the whole year round, and it means it is eternal. At least to those ancient people, it was an eternal constellation, meaning that life is eternal, because our soul survived our body, and For this reason, there is something that survives. And we know that in their religion we have the Ba and Ka, and so those subtle parts that survive our material body. And this goddess was important for another reason, because she was the goddess that had the role to in the foundation of a temple. And so she was the one that performed the ritual for the foundation of the temple, because she was a goddess in between sky and earth. So we know that in ancient days in Egypt, okay, I'm saying hello to Francesca as well, who is here now, connected. And so in ancient days, it was very, very important to find the right place where to build a temple. So there was a special priest that could actually feel, perceive the good energy of Mother Earth, and on that point of energy they would then build the temple. And the ritual was very important. Why was the ritual so important? And the ritual for the foundation of a temple in ancient Egypt was performed by a priestess that performed the role of the goddess Seshat and the pharaoh himself. And so they would gather on a special day that was chosen by the astrologer, and they would meet for this ritual to start a temple. A ritual is very, very important because a temple was a sacred place, a place where everybody would meet all the gods and goddesses, and so this special energy had to be sealed in the place so that people could actually feel something different entering the temple. And the temple was actually chosen on a place of very high vibration, very high magnetic vibration, and in connection with the sky through the columns, for example, or the obelisks that had the role to be like antennas charging the place with cosmic energy, so that when you would enter the temple, you would feel and perceive this special energy that was different from the daily energy you would feel, and you would then feel that it was a sacred place. You would enter a place to be in connection with God, all the gods and goddesses, in connection with your own divine part. Right, so on the other side, you actually see, on the other side of this picture, you actually see the drawing of the ritual of a medieval church or cathedral, because actually this knowledge that comes back from such a long time, because I'm talking about the very early period of the Egypt culture, the Egypt civilization, this knowledge of building between sky and earth went on throughout the medieval time. And so our churches in those days, our cathedrals, were built in the same way, between sky and earth. So with this knowledge of these magnetic energies and the knowledge of the energies from the sky. And in many cases, the energy was enhanced by building the temple or the church above some channels of water, because water is able, for its same nature, to enhance the energies, both cosmic and of the ground. Of course, if you have any questions and you want to have a look, I'm saying hello to Laura, who is watching now. I'm very, very happy to have you here. Hi, Laura. So if you have any questions, of course, just ask me. You can write down. I will be happy to answer. Okay, so this was an important introduction to the world of energies. There is something more I want to underline about ground energies before we talk about the places of energies in ancient Greek, because Mother Earth, that is actually a living being, so has some points that have a very peculiar and special quality, a special intensity, a wider, deeper intensity of energy. Even if we have a common range of energy intensity, but there are some places that have a stronger energy, and those places were the places that the ancients were looking for in order to build a sacred place. I'm also saying hello to Alina, who is looking now, and to Josie. Hi, I'm very glad to have you here. And so we are now making this leap from ancient Egypt to Greece, because the Greeks had a very sharp knowledge of the energies of the earth and the energies of the sky. And so much so that the Greeks developed some healings connected with Mother Earth. And those places are known as the Asclepeion in the ancient Greek language, which were the temples devoted to healing. Because one of the ancient knowledges that people had was that Mother Earth, with her special energies, can be actually a healer, can heal. And so getting in touch, in tune with these energies, they could actually use these energies for healing. This is a knowledge that went forgotten, unfortunately. And I think that it should be so important to go back to this knowledge and use the energies of Mother Earth for healing. So, of course, these places of healing were sacred places, because in ancient days, healing was a sacred practice. It never, ever was separated from this idea of being a sacred art, because this comes from such an important knowledge that the ancients had, that everything is sacred. And so they honored everything. Every living being was honored, the trees, the animals, and all the energies around us, and the stars and the planets. Everything was considered sacred. And the human being had to be part of this sacredness, was also a sacred being. But the most important thing for the ancients was to be in harmony, to keep a constant harmonious contact with everything around us. This was the most important law. For the ancient Egyptians, this law was the law of Maat, the goddess Maat, the goddess of harmony and balance, because the most important thing was to be in balance. This is something we have forgotten, and this is nowadays with all the things that are happening now, nowadays, right now in this moment, we are actually reminded of this. We have to find again this harmony. Otherwise, if we are separated from this, everything, goes out of order, And so this was true for the ancient Egyptians, and think that the most important role of the pharaoh, who had to go through a very, very important training, very very difficult as well, and it lasted for years, was to maintain the balance. So if in the sky there was Mat, this goddess, who was in charge of maintaining the balance, of this universe, on earth it was the pharaoh himself, or herself, if it was a woman, who had to keep this balance. So imagine the charge that a pharaoh had on his shoulder. That's why he had to be trained, with a very long path. And for the Greek people and the Greek civilization, it was the same. And to the Greek vision, let's say that the most how shall I say, the worst sin, I use this modern word, sin, the worst sin was to think that human being was more important, had more power than all the creation, the energies of creation, so all the gods and goddesses, what the Greeks called Ubris. Ubris means to be too proud, to think that you can be, as I was saying, more important, and so you can live out of tune. That was the worst sin, okay? And so they always tried to maintain as well a low profile, we would say. This means to be in tune all the time with nature and with the plan of the cosmos, the plan of creation. So this also means to surrender, and to surrender to this higher power. And when we think about our prayer in the Christian world, the prayer of Padre Nostro, our Father, in this prayer we have this sentence: sia fatta la tua volontà. May your will be manifested. May your will be manifested, This means to surrender to this higher power, this higher plan of creation. We are part of it. Of course, we are co-creators. And for this reason, because we are co-creators, we cannot be out of this tune. And for this reason, all the healing practices of the ancient days were sacred practices. And we, in order to be healed, because illness was considered that you were out of this harmony, so you had to regain this harmony. So when you went to a place of healing, you had to go through a process, a very long process of purification, first of all. And the temples of healing in Greece were actually held by priests, they were the doctors, let's say, were priests, and in those temples there were always snakes going around, as you see in this picture. And Asclepius was considered the original doctor, let's say, you know, the god really of medicine, you know, so it was really the god of medicine. You see, in those temples, I was saying, there were always snakes going around, because the snake is a symbol of transformation, first of all. And so people would go there in order to be healed. So they were going through a process of very deep transformation. But also the snake, you know, crawls on the earth. So the snake is the manifestation of those beings who are really in connection with Mother Earth. And so it was the symbol of being healed by the energies of Mother Earth. So here you also have a picture of Asclepius, the god of medicine. So the, let's say, the archetype of all the doctors. And you see the snake, you know, swirling around, which is actually nowadays, still nowadays, the symbol, you know, of pharmacy. And actually, still nowadays, when someone becomes a doctor, has to vow on a book that is linked with yes, was written by one of the most important priests. Priests were considered, of course, somehow incarnations of Asclepius. That was Hippocrates. Yes. Okay, I don't know if you have any questions and if everything is clear. I hope so. Hippocrates, yes. And let's go on with the images. And here it's, in this picture, you see the Asclepion on the island of Kos in Greece. This was one of the most important places of healing during the Greek period. It's an amazing place, a beautiful place. I spent some time there during my research that started, as I was saying, in Sardinia, but then expanded to other places of healing. And the Asclepion in Kos is really beautiful. There were many, many temples, because, as I was saying, the person who would go there for a healing had to go through a very, very a long purification. So first of all, had to come with some offerings, because offerings were always very important in those healings, because you were going to receive. So first of all, you had to give. Okay, so there were offerings, and then a big part was connected with purification. So probably a sort of detox purification. So eating not that much, drinking a lot, and of course water was used. They used very pure water in order to get a sort of detox process. Yes, let's go on. And here it's another Asclepion. You see another Asclepion, the Asclepion of Epidaurus. This is on the peninsula of Greece. It was one of the most important ones, together with the one in Kos. And imagine that people who had a disease usually had to walk miles and miles in order to go to these places for healing. And many times they would write down the healing they were asking for. And in this picture, actually, you see the place called the Abaton, the place inside the temple, where all the people who would go for healing had to spend some nights sleeping, because after the healing process, the last part of this healing process was to sleep on this special part, the special area of the temple, that was actually, as I found out through my research, using especially the dowsing technique, the Abaton was the area of the temple that had the highest energy, and so people had to sleep one night or more nights, if that was necessary, there, in order to get a vision, a dream. And because the Abaton was actually built on the area, on the spot with the highest energy, this energy coming from Mother Earth was an energy that helped to harmonize, of course, the body, the subtle bodies, and also because of this power of this energy, it helped to expand one's consciousness and the perceptions, and so get special visions and dreams. And that was a very important part. Of course, this was connected with prayers, because sleeping in the Abaton was a moment where people would pray the god Asclepius for their healing. And in many occasions, Asclepius would come for healing, and through their visions or their dreams. And the dreams, the following day, the dreams or the dream was then interpreted by the priests of the Asclepieion, because in the dream there was hidden a message that was very, very important for the cure of the person. So you see that it was an amazing process, and I really find that it was a very beautiful process, you know, because everything was connected. And of course, if it was necessary, we know that the doctors, they even performed surgery, or they would give to the person asking for healing, they would give special herbs, for example. Of course, it was a process that contained everything that was necessary to regain that harmony that had been lost. So really amazing. I really, really like it. Cristina and Marco, we were there with Arianna's book. Okay, thank you so much. And thanks to Cecilia, who is here as well. Okay, so let's go on. We still have some time. Right, here we are on the island of Malta, another amazing place that I visited some years ago. And in Malta, actually Malta is a very, very old place, and the temples that you find there are date back to 3500 BC, a very old time. And we know that there was a practice of healing with the good energies of Mother Earth. And this temple that you see here, Al Saflieni, which is a wonder, really a wonder, was actually carved inside the womb of Mother Earth. It's an amazing place. And there they would go for healing and to ask for the oracle as well, because actually getting messages through dreams, it's a kind of oracle, okay? And we know that people would perform this healing through Mother Earth energies long before the Greeks, because we have an evidence through this small statue that was found in this place, and it's the statue probably of a goddess or a priestess that is actually lying down on the ground, so absorbing the energies of Mother Earth, in connection with Mother Earth, in order to get visions, messages, and healing. So this is the oldest evidence that we have of these very ancient rituals of healing that actually had a name. The name of these rituals was incubation rites. Incubation. In means inside, going inside Mother Earth, in contact with Mother Earth. In is everything, is that particle, meaning we are going inside. It was also a travel inside themselves to regain this harmony that had been lost. So again, I find this amazing. And in my studies, in my experience, and so therefore in my talks or in my book, what I really want to express is to get back to this knowledge. We have to find again this balance and this contact. It is so healing. And so for this reason, at a point in my research, I decided to try again this healing through this incubation rite. And so sometimes I organize special nights where we sleep in these places of high vibrational energies in order to get messages. Something happens there. And as Laura was watching me, Laura De Stefano, who is a sister to me, a sister of this path, actually she also embraced this vision, and together we have organized special nights, sleeping in some of these places of energy in Sardinia, because as I was saying at the beginning of this talk, in Sardinia there are many places, and in Sardinia these rituals were performed as the Greeks reported in some of their texts. And amazing things happen because people really have experiences, special experiences. And after having slept one night in these special energies, in the following morning, we all gather, we have a circle of where we share the experiences, and we try to interpret the experience just as the ancient priests and priestesses did in those healing temples. So it's a knowledge that I think it's so important to go back to, really important, and it's an awakening experience. And so it's something I really want to go on spreading. Yes, let's go on. Christina, I slept in Romanzesu in a trip organized by you. Yes, I remember this very well, Christina. I don't know if I would really be glad if you could write some of your feedback after this experience. It would be really interesting for the people who are watching now and those who will be watching this talk later on. I will be really very happy about this. So while I'm waiting for Christina to write some of her feedback during that experience, we don't have much time left, so I cannot go through all the places. But anyway, tomorrow we will go on with this kind of talk that will be in Italian. We will talk about places of healing tomorrow together with Enrico. And I want to show you, before we finish, a giant's grave of Sardinia. This is a giant's grave that is placed in Palau, in the northern part of Sardinia. And in Sardinia there are about 800 giant's graves, and they were actually built for healings. They were both places of healing and of burials, okay? But one of the functions of the giant's grave was that of healing. And again, we know this thanks to the Greeks, who came in contact in the 5th century BC with the Sardinian civilization and wrote and reported about the healings that were taking place at the giants' graves of Sardinia. And actually, they wrote about these incubation rites taking place in these special sacred places of Sardinia. Okay, Christina is saying it was magic. In the beginning I had fear, but finally it was a sweet adventure. I had fear, yes, because many times along this process, it was the same in ancient days, we are confronted with our fears, because fears are kinds of blocks that we have, and fears do not allow our energy to flow freely. Fear doesn't allow to experience life fully, and fear is one of the most important things to be confronted with and to be transmuted. It has to be transmuted. And what happens in these special places of energy is that high vibrational energy helps to transmute. This is important. The most important thing is an alchemical process that you are confronted with, because alchemy, an alchemical process, means transmuting the energy, okay? So we do not fight against the energy, no, because that doesn't lead to anything. But this helps to transmute the energy from negative into positive. And sometimes during this healing process, you can actually experience fear. I remember that once during one of these rituals, a person the whole night experienced that she was falling into a black hole. So it was almost, if you like, a terrifying experience. But that helped her to transmute that fear that she had towards life, you know, to be sucked into something terrible. You know, that sometimes we also live in, you know, like in a globe of fear, you know. Fear can be really strong, you know, especially when we feel we feel life, or we see life as something dramatic or very, very hard to experience, you know. Well, this experience helped to transmute that, okay? And actually, in the giants' graves, you have a powerful energy, very powerful energy, that was even measured with special tools, and all the giants' graves of the ancient Sardinian civilizations were used for healing. And sorry, in each of these you get an energy that is 437.5 megahertz. So it's an energy connected with the heart energy, and for this reason helps the healing. And we will have to finish with this image. Here I want to show you the image taken thanks to the tool of an infrared camera. It was taken right in the center of a giant's grave, where the energy of Mother Earth and the cosmic energy coming from the big stone right in the middle, the stele, comes down. So right in the middle you have this field of strong and powerful energy that was taken and captured thanks to this infrared camera that shows the energy coming from that place. And you see, this is the energy that is at work there and that helps our healing, because that energy merges with our own energy, because we are energy, and helps through a process, helps our healing and transformation. You see, it's something marvelous. And of course I could talk for a very long time, but during our some of our next talks here on Bridges of Light, we are really going to talk about this, because it's an important knowledge, as I was saying, to go back to. So I really thank each of you watching, and also all the Italians watching, because you also had to make an effort, I think, to listen to some English. But yeah, it's a very important knowledge, this to go back to. And places of energy are in all the parts of the world. We just have to go back to this in order to find out where these places are. And yes, tomorrow, for those of you who want to go back to our talk at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Enrico and I are going to talk more about these places of energy. Thanks to all of you, wishing you a very good Sunday, and wishing you good health. And thanks for listening to me, and kisses and hugs, and see you very soon. Bye.